Okay, everyone, welcome to this special webinar for us at Soar.com. We are so excited you're with us. Today we are joined with Liz Ellis, who is the COO of VidAngel. Welcome, Liz.
Hi. Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Andrew.
We're so excited to have her today because we know that there's a large group of us who are anxious to take these personal stories that Strengths builds and go from there in a way that it's a case study. And for all of those who have joined us, just so you know, this story will be available for you. This webinar is available for all of our pro coaches. So you can have it now, you can have it later, you'll be able to use it whenever you need it for your coaching, for your clients. And believe me, I think this is one that you're really going to want. So today is September 19th, 2018. I am Andrew Webb, your host. And as I said, we're joined by Liz Ellis. Liz is one of those people who has come a long way in the strengths journey. And I got to speak with her a little bit a while ago. And I had a profound sense that because of her initial ideas about strengths and where she's come from, she's far more genuine when she tells her story. She's been in a journey that I think will be applicable to a lot of clients that you have as coaches. So just a little bit about Liz is she is not only the COO of VidAngel, she is not only well respected here and throughout the business community, she is also a mother of 6, I just found out. Isn't that right, Liz?
Yep.
I think that's remarkable, especially because the CEO of VidAngel has taken her on 3 different startup journeys. Is that right?
Yep.
3 different startup journeys, which tells you, as he says, she really is the glue that holds us together. And her strengths, I'm just going to read them to you, and that will probably help you understand why. And we'll probably start there, is empathy, developer, relator, achiever, and consistency. So Liz, let's start there. Talk to us real briefly about how you were introduced to strengths.
Oh, man. So it's kind of funny. I, like a lot of people, had a big goal. I wanted to be an executive someday. And as I got to that level, I had those self-doubts where I was like, do I really know how to do this job? Am I really qualified? And so when I found out about strengths, I was super excited. I was really excited to find out what I do well in business and what I contributed to the team. And we took the assessment, excuse me, and I got my results back and it said empathy. I know if people are sad. Developer, I make my kids do their homework. Relator, I have a good relationship with a few friends. Achiever, I get a lot of stuff done. Consistency, I like fairness, so I can cut peanut butter and jelly perfectly in half every time with no fighting. I went home to my husband and I said, those are not talents.
Right.
All those say is that I'm a mom. Like, this is rubbish. I have no skills.
Oh.
And the next day we had a team coaching session and we got to learn more about our strengths. We got to learn about each other's strengths. They put up the big team strengths grid that has, everybody's strengths, and you get to see what everybody else has. And in our crazy wild world of a startup, I was the only person that had consistency. I was the only person that was able to keep calm in the ups and downs of the wild roller coaster. I was the only person on the executive group that had empathy, the ability to walk in the room and know instantly the temperature of the company if morale was waning. I was, one of the only ones that had developer, the ability to really see people's talents, to really know how to put the best person in the right role and shift people around to make the most of the talents. And all of a sudden, like you said, that he said, I'm the glue that holds people together. And that finally made sense to me. Up until then, I thought, thank you, I don't know what that means. And so it was a really big revelation for me to realize, oh, no, it's not just that I'm a mom. It's not that every mom can do this. The other women on the team didn't have the same strengths. The other parents on the team didn't have the same strengths. It was very unique to just me, and it was really eye-opening to me and kind
Now,
of empowering.
was it, as I listened to you, Liz, it's
Yeah.
clear you not only could now name them, but you could claim them. You owned them.
Oh yeah.
But is that you speaking with experience? And if so, how long did it take for you to really embrace those themes?
For me, it was pretty quickly, actually.
Hmm.
I was pretty excited about the concept. And when I kind of realized that ability to see talent in other people was actually a talent and not just like a trained thing, I thought, well, I've been in HR, I've been in operations. I don't know, can't everybody see talent? I actually got excited, and I went and got certified as a strengths coach, and like almost right away within, let's see, we took it in September, I went in November. So like 2 or 3 months later, I went and got certified. And then I've been doing it internally with our own team and doing stuff with them. And it's been really fun in a way that I've seen the results immediately. And it got to a point where I wanted to learn more. I wanted to actually have more skills in helping to develop people, in helping to find ways to create those transformations, to create that inspiration for people. In fact, it's kind of a funny story. I had been thinking about wanting to get some extra education, but it was quite expensive. And so I was really thinking in my head, okay, what's the ROI? How do I put this into a written proposal, propose it to the CEO, see if maybe the company can pay for any portion of the education? And I think a lot in ROI because I'm the chief operations. And so I knew that would have to be something I had to pitch. And at the same time, I get so excited and so motivated talking to people and helping them to see the possibilities and see where they could go. That I was in a session with an employee and walked away feeling so energized, and him feeling so empowered to go do his job better and what he might do next, that I actually just threw the whole proposal out the window, went right into the CEO's office and said, hey, so by the way, I want to take some extra education. Here's why I think it would be good, and I think you should pay for it. And he kind of looks at me for a minute and he goes, okay, well, how much is it? Oh, okay, that's kind of a lot. And then he says, well, when do you start? I'm like, well, the class starts right now in December, or I could start next year. I mean, if we need to wait, I understand. And he goes, oh, no, we'll pay for it. Just as long as you start in January, so that you don't have to work through you don't have to go to school through the busy months of December. And
so he was willing to do it.
He totally was willing to do it. It was the coolest thing. I was super excited. And so
there's a reason he was willing to do it. Have you been able to pinpoint why he was willing to invest as an organizational leader in that education for you and consequently the organization?
Yeah, in our organization, at least, it's just created so much beneficial change. I see now my direct reports we've grown to a level that my direct reports now have people reporting to them, which is exciting. And I hear them talking in terms of strengths. I hear them talking. Right now we're looking to hire a new assistant manager in one of our departments. And we had the conversation of, okay, well, this is kind of your really strong talents. What talents do you need to complement you? And it's become a lot more of our everyday conversation. And another piece of it too is just the engagement portion as well. I think everybody is looking for some kind of growth. And especially as we get a younger generation of workforce, they're definitely looking for growth. They don't want to just come punch a time clock. They want to learn. They want to grow. They want to be able to, do cool stuff. And so that's been really fun for me as well, because I've been able to talk them through, I see where you are now, and where do you want to go? And how can I help you get there? Maybe that position doesn't exist yet, but how can I prepare you so if that position arises, you'll be ready to take it?
And you have seen that impact in the organization. Talk a little bit. I think it's important that people know of the uniqueness of VidAngel and its long and beautiful and illustrious story. And just so you know, for those who are listening, this was just a little snippet of it because we intend on going in a deep dive with Liz and do a great case study on VidAngel and how Strengths has helped them navigate some of the most tumultuous waters. Startups are hard enough, for crying out loud. You have had that compounded. So talk a little bit about VidAngel's model, just so our listeners understand.
Sure. So VidAngel is a tech startup, and we do streaming video like Amazon or Netflix, but with customizable filters, so people can remove anything they may find objectionable, curse words, an objectionable scene. Just, when you sit down with the kids and you just don't want them to see that naked rear end in the Mars movie, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And it's been really fun. It's been wildly successful. We have tons of customers, and yet we got to a point where Disney did not like it. And we have a huge lawsuit against with Disney, Warner Brothers, and Fox, trying to crush us. It's literally trying to crush us. And we have had to adapt and pivot, and we've been down to, at one point in time, I had to lay off 82 people in one day because we just couldn't keep going. And then 6 months later, we were back, and I hired back almost 50% of them. It was like the best thing ever. And then, more lawsuits came, and none of those have even been decided. So like, there's just still ongoing. And so it's definitely an organization that has seen its sad sides and seen its triumphs. And we've pivoted many, many times. When the first system wasn't up to Disney's approval, we created a new system that they couldn't argue with. It was literally the system they proposed. And then in addition to that, we created an entire new brand. We even created the entire Dry Bar Comedy line of content that's all family-friendly stand-up comedy. And that's been wildly successful and is now bigger than even some of the main brands. It's on XM radio. It's bigger than the XM radio station. We have more content, more clean content in our library than any other clean content provider out there.
My goodness.
And we've just had, we just iterate and we iterate and we iterate. And it's definitely something, my consistency is needed, because
let's talk about that.
Daily.
It's changing daily. Startups are tough enough, but you're battling these billion-dollar behemoths.
Yeah, we're just trying to crush us like a bug.
So intimidating. I can't even fathom. How has the Strengths movement and all that you have brought into VidAngel help you endure these battles?
Yeah, I think for us, for me personally, it was so enlightening to know my own strengths. I was able to really get into what I was really good at. I mean, I'm an achiever, so I can be good at anything I really try to do if I want to, but that doesn't mean I love it. It just means I can get a whole lot of stuff done. And so when I was able to really see what the pieces were that I really, really love, I was able to do that more. I asked for that additional education. I was able to really hone it in and get really exceptional at the pieces I really, really was passionate about. And that was really beneficial, because then I could share that enthusiasm with others rather than just go through the daily grind. Everybody can get their task done that's given to them, but it's a little different than actually wanting to go to work and loving what you do.
So you've been able to, it looks like, manage different roles as a COO in this startup, and in multiple other, as an executive in multiple organizations and startups, but also infused your culture with this vibrancy of strengths. And in fact, you told me a great story the other day about how you asked to be fired with your executive.
I did ask
how you've managed these different roles and how that's played and benefited the organization.
Yeah. It's been so interesting, because it's rapidly changing in a startup. and sometimes that can be scary because you're feeling like you need to reinvent your job, or you sometimes worry about job security in a startup because it's so quickly changing, right?
Mm.
And so for me, and I think for a number of our team members, as I've helped them to really understand what they're good at, they can stop worrying about if they're going to have a job and start worrying about, how do I provide the most value? Right?
Wow.
How do I
Yes.
use what I have and provide the most value? Because I could show up every day and I could just get a task list done, right? But that's not necessarily what provides the most value, But when I can take my team members, bring them in and motivate them and help them understand how they also provide value, it's exponentially bigger impact from what I even could offer, because they're now offering their best as well.
Wow.
And so
That's fascinating. They get a place and a space to spend their mental energy, as opposed to the constant worry and stress, which is there. Of
yeah,
course, it's
always.
always going to be there. But you give them something to hold on to, which creates, as I'm thinking about it, these positive action tendencies
Yeah.
that help them at least begin to focus in areas where, of course, as you know better than anyone, the statistics increase their engagement, increase their productivity, and of course, I think most importantly, the fulfillment and the overall quality of life. That tells me a lot about how you can navigate a battle, I would say.
It's a battle for sure.
Uncle Walt, and the rest of the Hollywood elites. That's so fascinating. So one of the things I want to kind of go back to that I think is fascinating, and as we talked before, and I believe there are lots of people who have dealt with this,
Mm-hmm.
and you use a strong word, and it's a syndrome that a lot of people talk about, this imposterism or imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about why you felt a certain way before the strengths and how strengths helped you flip and address that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody faces that at some point because, we all just think, do I know enough? Am I doing enough? But I think for me, I didn't realize quite how unique my set of talents was, at least for me. Um, I, I, I was excited. I owned it. I really even didn't get, like, specifically the empathy piece until I went to the coaches training, in which case I had to, like, put it into words. And I was like, I don't know. I know what people are feeling. And actually kind of funny, the thing that kind of turned it for me is I had to travel to Seattle to take the class, and I was trying to write it out. And I was like, I can't, I don't know how to explain empathy. And I called home to my husband. Well, my husband has command in his top 5. And he said, what are you talking about? Empathy is a superpower. You read people's minds and you manipulate them to do what you want. And I said, what are you talking about? I would never manipulate someone.
Spoken like a true command.
Right? Exactly. But it was all of a sudden when he said it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so eye-opening, because that was just not how I thought about it. Mine was, I totally see how you're feeling and how can I support you? And his was, what are you talking about? You know how they're feeling. You can just use that to your advantage.
Fascinating.
So yeah, it was
my gosh.
when I finally saw it in contrast like that, I was like, oh, I kind of get it. Like, I'm really getting how this is unique, and how my 5 work together to create something unique,
So you found that in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and it obviously gave you a firm belief in what it can do for not only you, but your executives who bought in, and we can talk a little bit about that more later. I want to do that, but also the employees of an organization. I think Alan had a great question here, and I'm going to expand it a little bit. He's asking, did they all get their 34 or their top 5? And what I'd like to know is, what's the process in which you onboard them and introduce the strengths philosophy to your employees?
Yeah. So a little bit earlier, Alyssa actually asked if they'd done BP10 as well, and they have not. We've only done Clifton Strengths.
Okay.
My initial, like, legacy staff, when we did this 2.5 years ago, they had their full 34. But any staff that's joined since then, we've only done top 5. And that's been plenty. That's absolutely been plenty. And I have them take the assessment as soon as they're hired. And then they meet with me and we talk through their talents. And I'm actually still working on making it even more seamless. The teams that meet with me constantly get it a lot. But some of my other teams and some of our remote staff don't get it quite as often. In fact, I had just asked my assistant, how many people would I have to see every day if I wanted to make sure to talk to every single employee about strength, like face to face, not just in general, but like a face-to-face one-on-one once every 2 months,
Really?
so that it could be constant.
It could be top of mind. Talk a
Yeah,
little bit about that, because that is so difficult to get this new language.
Yeah,
And for people to learn a new language. It's not only just a mindset, it's the language.
it is very
I
much
love
so.
what you said, seamless. What have you seen that works in your approach to creating that natural transition?
Yeah, we've done 2 annual company meetings now, where we've talked about strengths. We've done a lot of strengths interactive games. We create these super cool name tags for everybody that has all their strengths listed, that they can keep at their desk throughout the year. And so we do a lot of interaction in that way. And then the one piece, like the things that I've loved, is once every month we do another activity together, just to kind of bring it back to a thought. It may not be directly strengths based in terms of like using the 34 themes vocabulary, but we very much bring everyone together and say, and so what did you notice? So what did they do well? Or what could we have done better? And, I might not specifically say, oh, that's because he has ideation, but I might just say, yeah, he seems to be really good at coming up with ideas. And, oh, she seems to be really good at leading the team in terms of whatever. And so even if I'm not using the exact words, it's still appreciating what, because we debrief every exercise that we do. And so it's still appreciating, how did it work out? What did we learn? What did we do together? And those can be super fun.
And it seems to me that's a fabulous way to make this feel far less intimidating.
Definitely.
For these people, that feels so much more natural. And I believe you build principle upon principle. And when the time's right, they'll digest more. But I think just creating just the natural question and answers, addressing and focusing on what they did well, all of that really encompasses the strength philosophy. That is a really important approach, because I'm sure you've seen it in other organizations as well. So often we try and cram these programs, and it becomes a program.
Yeah.
It becomes a program, and they feel it as such.
Yes.
You found a way, it seems, to at least bridge that with a more natural transition.
Yeah, I've tried to do more of the deep dive, kind of what you would consider the program, in more a one-on-one fashion, where I can specifically say, Andrew, did you realize that with this talent, etc. And then the group things are more, how do we interact? How do we improve communication? How do we acknowledge other talents, but maybe not so formally in a program setting? And then they can kind of get their own takeaways from that by seeing it when I have those one-on-ones.
And so many coaches are looking for and face this dilemma where their clients or potential clients are asking for results, because that's the world they live in. Talk to us about the results you've seen from your employees and in the organization as a result of this process.
For sure. So it's interesting because a results-based, to measure results, you have to have clear goals. And that, I think, is a challenge in most organizations. They don't have the right clear expectations set up. And so it's hard to measure if this has had an impact or not. For us, we're measuring it with engagement. We're monitoring engagement. We do engagement surveys every quarter or so, just to see how things are going, which is very telling. You can see as engagement dips a little, you can see as it peaks when things are good, We're also doing it with more specific communication in terms of what's happening. Alan asked if we're using it in performance reviews. We're actually not using it specifically in performance reviews. What we're doing instead is more recapping as an executive team of how are people doing, and where can we help, or what other assets do we need based on what needs we're filling now. And
so I think you've addressed some of the big processes that really help tell the story to women and sell the story even. This needs to be sold, and it's not in a way that's manipulative, or it's simply in a way that is a language that executives that potentially hold the purse strings need to understand.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've really loved when we talked earlier is that there has to be that continuous communication.
Yes.
Talk to us about why that's so essential and how specific ways you do that.
Yeah.
So that they're buying in.
Yeah, it's so critical. I actually had a really funny situation just about 2 weeks ago where one of the other executives actually got super frustrated at me. He got really frustrated that I was stepping on his toes and that I had interfered with his team. And I realized it's because of my lack of communication. I was actually working really hard to help inspire some of his team members. I had talked to one of them. He had leadership aspirations. And I said, awesome. Then what are some ways that you could show some of that leadership now? But I didn't go back and communicate that clearly to the executive. And so what happened is he felt like I had promoted this person and given him this new role without ever talking to him. And that's not what had happened. But it was a great learning experience for me, because I was thinking, I'm doing such a good job. I'm really inspiring him. He's working so much harder and he's doing so much work. And this manager was thinking, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? You're messing up my team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to have a great conversation of me being able to say, hey, here's the thing. He really wants to do more. So how can you, instead of, whoa, hold on. How can you say, yeah, bring it on. And here, this is off my plate and you can take it for me, and really empower him to do more. And it totally changed the dynamic, but it couldn't have happened without that communication. And I realize now I could have saved us the trouble had I had that communication sooner.
So how do those look, and what methods do you use to keep that consistent in your organization?
Yeah, a lot of it is, if I do one-on-ones, then I try to report back to their manager, obviously whatever they're allowing me to tell them.
Right.
I always want to keep confidentiality, and I always have told them that this time that we're together is completely for you. I have no agenda whatsoever. This is not tied to performance in any way. This is not a feedback session from me in any way. It's purely for you. How can I support you? Are you loving what you're doing? If not, what can we improve? What more do you want to do? What are your aspirations, and how can I help you get there? And those are fabulous conversations. And then when you can take some of that and say, can I share that with your manager? Because I would love for him to give you more projects to do X, Y, Z.
Oh.
And they often, almost always, are like, yes, please, bring it on. And we've had amazing results from that. We've had our engineering team really step up and take new things they've never thought of before. We've got one gentleman that I would consider our rock star, really. We hired him as a pretty junior employee, but I knew he had the right mentality. I knew he had the right personality, and we pushed him so hard. He led our support team and just excellently, and is completely managing it up to now. He's actually hiring a person to take his place so he can move over and manage part of our content. And just really exceptional. When you find those things that people are really good at and you nurture those, they want to do more. He just is always coming back. Okay, what do I do now? What do I learn next? But we miss that so often. We kind of just get stuck in the grind sometimes. And is it Monday? Is it Friday? I don't even know. I just got to show up for work.
Oh, that is so true.
Right?
It's so true. And that's a great point. And I'm just thinking, here I am going back, me, I'm going to the intellection side, but I'm really wondering why and what we need to do. And maybe you can help us. What is it, or how do we reawaken those principles that we know improve our daily lives, improve our relationships, and improve our engagement. Is there anything that you've seen that has helped you come back to that side, especially when things get icky?
For me personally, or for my team as a whole?
Both. I'd love to hear both.
Okay.
Actually, I'd love to hear you personally and then as the team. Yeah, I want to hear both.
Okay. I think for me personally, sometimes it's just taking a moment to remember what you really like. Remember, think about a success. Really focus on, a time that you really enjoyed, and what was it about that time that you really liked? And how do I remember those pieces? And how do I maybe incorporate more of those going forward? Sometimes we think, oh, well, I really was great at that project. I want to do more projects, not realizing that the reason you were great at that project is because you had a really good team and you loved interacting with people, not managing the details of the project, right? And so if we can narrow down kind of what we love, and just kind of remind ourselves of those, it's really powerful. I actually had a gentleman the other day. He really, really wanted to be a project manager as he grew up, so to speak. And I said, well, why can't you? And he said, well, I've never done that before. And I kind of had him walk back through what he does on a daily basis. And he's running an entire programming, developing code camp, like a code boot camp. He's running the entire campus. I said, how is that not project managing? He's like, well, no, it's not the same thing. And no, okay, let's break it down into tiny steps. It is the same thing.
Oh my.
That's the part you love. That's why you're excelling at this job. There's no reason you couldn't move on to be a project manager. And all of a sudden he was like, light bulb. How did I never see that before? I love those moments though.
Yes. That's because you had one of those. You personally had one.
Did.
And I see that you want others
really
to see and have that light bulb epiphany.
Yeah.
I love it. What about the organization as a result? How do you get them to, when things get sticky, icky, and tough, go back to these principles that can help them break through?
Yeah. When things get super sticky and tough, we usually just break out the microphones and have karaoke.
That's good.
Makes the
Put
tension.
that down. That's good. Oh.
We actually are really blessed. We have this 100-year-old building that has gorgeous columns and this beautiful stage, and because we film our dry bar comedy there. And so we legitimately break out the microphones and just let everybody sing and get some energy out.
Oh.
But while I say that kind of jokingly, getting people together, getting that energy moving is so important. I don't care, take a donut break, whatever, but just move everybody physically, get them out of their offices, get them out of their cubicles, get them away from their desk, bring them somewhere, get them together. And it really helps to elevate the energy. And then on a bigger scale, when I'm more one-on-one, when I have someone who's really discouraged, I try to help them to elevate from what they're doing right now, what the actions are, to who they are.
Well, that's fascinating.
And yeah, because if you can get out of we kind of get stuck in this is what I do every day. But if I can come up here to kind of who I am and why I like it and what I like about it, it can give you a better vision for what could be possible, and not just, oh, but right now it's really hard,
Well, that's fabulous insight, especially given the context of what you guys are doing at VidAngel.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to ask anybody who has any final questions. You can go ahead and ask those. But for me, I would just like to kind of end it with this. We've talked a little bit about the past. We've talked about your own journey and how it's impacted VidAngel. Talk to us about now where you're going as a company and how Strengths is going to help you get there.
Yeah. Where are we going as a company? Oh man, we have great plans. We actually just created, so we did the dry bar comedy, like I said, and that is a funding platform. We used a new funding platform to be able to fund that, create that. We were able to make it profitable in a way that we know we can make original content in a profitable way. And so what we've done now is we've created a funding platform using a new rule. It's called Regulation A+. and it allows normal everyday humans to invest instead of like millionaires to invest in companies.
Oh, as an accredited investor.
Instead of an accredited investor needing $1 million net worth, you and I can invest $100 in a company. And so what we've done is we've created an entire platform for people to be able to do that with their favorite new shows or projects. So Andrew says, well, I have this really great idea for a TV show, but Hollywood will never produce it. Or if they do, they want to take 70% of my profits. And so we've already got the distribution network. And so we've created now this super great way for creators to come in and fund their own films with an audience that loves what they're doing. And it's been really fun. It's been really fun because I've got that huge thing with VidAngel, which is a monumental accomplishment we're tackling.
Yeah.
And then I've got on my own side of just, in addition to internal coaching, I'm this close to being an ACC coach through the International Coaching Federation. I've done all my schooling. I've done all my hours. I just got to take my exam. So I'm right there. And I call myself a master of human Tetris because I love taking people's talents, helping them figure out what they're really good at, how to stack those blocks up and make great things happen, and how to sweep away the blocks that are keeping them stuck.
Oh, that's perfect.
That is so fun for me. So
that is perfect.
Yeah.
It sounds like, though, this new venture with VidAngel, you've democratized angel investing.
Exactly. That's exactly what we've done.
That is fabulous. And I totally see, when you tell these stories, the joy you have doing it.
Yeah.
And the fight that potentially you have fought. And I can't imagine any startup entrepreneur executive right now who hasn't heard your story saying or nodding their heads, especially when they've had those sleepless nights, can't make payroll, have to probably let somebody go, or struggling with their teams, whatever those issues are they're facing. And they're very real to them, very raw. I can't imagine after hearing your story, they don't say how beneficial the strengths can be for them personally and as well as the organization.
Yeah, I totally agree. So
thank you so much, Liz, for being with us. I was just, as you were telling your story, there's one thing I wanted to just end with this, and this may lighten your day, coming from the man who tried to lighten everyone's day, except for perhaps VidAngel. This was Walt Disney. It's a surprise. He said, "You may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you."
Well, they're really good at kicking us in the teeth right now. So I hope we come back to show them that, his quote is very accurate.
You will. I know you will. And honestly, that's coming next. When we talk next, that will be the deep dive we'll go into.
Okay.
And that will be the case study. For now, we get to hear more about you and what you've done at the organization. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions. Liz, it was a delight to be with you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for coming. And thank you to my friends who made an effort to come and for all the kind comments. So I appreciate you all.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye, everyone.